All right, here with boxing legend Jeff Fenech. Jeff, big news of the past couple of days. Tim Tszyu's lost to Sebastian Fundora in the rematch, mate. What were your sort of first impressions of the fight?
No, my first impression was I felt really sorry for Tim. Looking at what happened in the first round, he's still done the same thing in the second round, the same thing in the third round. Listen, you need people when you're at the level that Tim's at. You need people that can maneuver you and tell you what they need to do. And listen, like I said, I've said this on numerous occasions that Tim's never been told nothing to do in a fight because he's just beat them on his own. So everybody gets the credit for it. But Tim's beaten all those guys that he's fought on his own, and he needed help on the weekend, and he got none. He got none because he's got a corner full of guys that have never had a fight in their life. So how can they tell you how to fight if they haven't had one?
Were you surprised that Fundora put the pressure on Tim so early in the fight?
Totally surprised. I couldn't believe it. He's gone back and obviously watched video and studied Tim. And yeah, he brought something to the ring that I did not think he had. Like I said, you asked him about Fundora before this fight. I thought, he was a good fighter, but nothing special. After this fight, I thought, wow, he's special.
Hmm. What I guess that first knockdown, how much did that change the fight?
A knockdown always changes the fight, but it's about getting up, being careful for the next whatever time he had left in that round, sitting down, having the right thing done to you, like water over your head, trying to, wake you up again, and being told what to do next. What did they tell him? He done exactly the same thing in the second round as he done in the first. He done exactly the same thing in the third as he done in the second. I mean, luckily he was punching Fundora to the body, hitting with a body shot, and then jumping straight back out into his range, where Fundora just, teed off on him.
Hmm. What does this do for Tim's career? I mean, where does he go from here?
I think that's a pretty silly question. What do you think it does for his career? It puts the brakes on it again. I mean, like I said, no limit, and the people who Tim and his family need to sit down and make decisions and make the right ones. After that last fight, I don't care what anybody says. Had Tim and the fight been stopped in the fourth round, he might even be fighting these guys again. It, for me, it's just been a total mess up from the day they didn't know how to stop a fight in the fourth round. Didn't know what happened if they stopped a fight in the fourth round. Listen, I'm watching the fight on the weekend, and on two occasions they're asking what round it is. I mean, you don't know what round it is. Your fighters there, they're fighting. There's a girl walking around with the card telling you what round it is every round. I mean, what were they watching? What were they doing? I mean, like I said, honestly, I think Tim's a great talent, and I feel very, very sorry for him.
Now, you mentioned it just there, but how much of the events of the weekend stem back to that first fight?
I don't think anything stems back to that first fight because Tim, like when I spoke to Tim, thinks, wow, I was, what I did or what I went through. Yeah, he didn't have to go through that. If those guys in the corner knew, he wouldn't have went through that. So he wouldn't have had to relive that at any time. It would have been fourth round over. Tim retains his title. Yeah, give him a rematch later if that's what is necessary. Yeah, but he wouldn't have went through that, and he wouldn't have fought for the other title because he would have been world champion himself. So, like, there's a lot of things you got to look at and weigh up. But like I said, Tim is a very, very loyal guy. But he's being loyal to the not to the right. I don't mean to the wrong people in the way that. Yeah, but these guys don't deserve loyalty. They don't know what to give him. They've given him nothing. They give him a chair to sit on every round. They give him some water in his mouth, and that's all they're capable of doing. They can't do anything else. I mean, like, people say, "Oh, they're involved with Costa Tszyu." What do you mean they're involved with Costa? I mean, listen, if my grandmother trained Costa Tszyu, she's going to train a world champion. You know, I mean, they had nothing to do with Costa. Johnny Lewis was the guy who looked after Costa. Not they just sat in the corner. They were a part of his family, so they were part of the team, which again comes down from loyalty from Costa to the family.
Hmm. Well, did you see sort of a different Tim in there yesterday? Someone who sort of was a bit inferior to his previous fights, or was Fundora just has he improved? What did you see?
No, no, not at all. I've seen Tim that wanted to be the old Tim Tszyu, but he couldn't be because Fundora had a fight plan. Fundora had a strategy that he stuck to every single round, Even when Tim was belting him, he came straight back out. Every time Tim hit him with a good punch, he came back with 3 or 4. And I mean, like I said, that's disheartening, as for a fighter. But like I said, there was no, for me, there was no build up in the corner. There was no motivation in the corner for Tim. And, like I said, I don't know what they were saying because I was speaking Russian, but it didn't look like he was getting any instructions from me, because if he was, that means he disobeyed them. And I don't believe Tim would disobey anything that his corner said. So, in other words, they said nothing and he went back out and was the same person every round. They were just wishing and hoping. And like I said, and in that seventh round, this is the worst thing. And I don't like even saying this, but in the seventh round, at the end of the round, when Tim went back, he grabbed the ropes. He didn't want to fight. That's my job to notice that straight away and throw the towel or say something's wrong with Tim. You don't let your fighter you don't let your fighter go through that. Now he's going to go through that for the rest of his career. People saying, oh, Tim didn't want to fight. Tim didn't want to fight. So, I mean, I think that was totally reckless and disgusting from his corner. And like I said, I don't know. I don't know really what more to say, except that Tim needs to make the change. Maybe go to America for a couple of years. Maybe go there if that's what he really wants. If he wants to continue fighting, but like I said, he's got a family. He's just been married. He doesn't need to fight. He's got enough money not to fight. So there's a lot of things he needs to talk about with his beautiful wife and family to see what's his next move.
Kostya finished his career on the stool against Ricky Hatt, and Tim Tszyu finished his, the fight yesterday. Could Tim retire after this fight, do you think?
Well, that's up to Tim. But like I said, I'm very, very sure and confident. Somebody was there yesterday and told him, after he worked for the body, to stay there, staying close and fighting close, that this would not have happened. Fundora used every bit of reach that he had and all the room that Tim gave him. Fundora used it to his advantage. Had Tim not given him room, it's not going to happen. And how does Tim do that? You do it in training, because this guy's 6'6" and he's got the longest reach. He's like a giraffe. So you don't give him room. But you got to show somebody and tell them how to do it.
Mm. Do you think, the elbow in the first fight, do you think that affected Tim at all yesterday?
Come on. I know people have been shot in the stomach, shot in the legs. It doesn't change their attitude when they're in life. They go out and they try to be better. I mean, listen, everybody, it was a cut head. Shit, it's healed. We get cuts, we get cut eyes, cut heads, cut whatever. People get cut open worse than that cut ever was. I've seen people that Johnny's trained with their eyes hanging down, and the first thing that happens, but Johnny's able to stop the bleeding, and then they fight, and that's part and parcel of what we do. We get cut, we get elbowed, we get headbutted. Sometimes you can't see out of your eyes. I mean, that's part of the sport we're involved in. If you're not ready for that, don't do the sport. And like I said, I know Tim had the hunger and was one of these kids that wanted to be, Australia's greatest fighter. And I feel sorry that opportunity has been taken away from him by having, like I said, I'm going to say it again, a team of clowns in his corner.
If you could speak to Tim, or I don't know if you have spoken to Tim in the next couple of days, what advice would you give for him moving forward?
The first thing I would tell him is just to sit down, relax, and enjoy whatever couple of weeks it is with your family. If it takes a month for him, and then Tim, go and speak to people who know about boxing. He's got all the talent in the world. He's got all the skills in the world to be what we all thought he was going to be. But listen, you can't. Sometimes you just can't do that on your own. Costa, like I said, had this mad punching power. Tim doesn't have the power of his dad, but he has the skill and he has everything else. He needs to sit down and say, do I need this anymore? Do I want this? Do I want to put my mother? Do I want to put my family through this? And if he wants to give it one more chance, just find the right people that can help him. Like I said, watching that fight, like I said, if Tim just moved outside of the lead jab, stayed low and got in close, Tim would have no problem. Tim's a great body puncher and stuff like that. But unless you've done that through training and it's in your head, it's very, very hard to do. It's muscle memory and stuff like that. And I'm sure they didn't do any of that. Like I said, well, if they did, then Tim disobeyed the what they were supposed to do. And I don't believe Tim would disobey what his corner told him. His corner told him what to do, and he done it, and it was nowhere near enough to win the fight. It was matter of fact, it was I don't know, it was crazy.
What about
The style that Tim fought was totally not the style to fight Fundora.
what about potential opponents moving forward for Tim? What sort of guys should he look at if he is to continue?
Yeah, of course he needs to have a couple of guys that he yeah that. Listen, I still believe he can beat anybody, but he needs to fight a couple of guys and have a couple of wins, get his confidence back, and change what he's been doing. He needs next if he's going to fight again, he needs to change his style because people have watched it now. People know what to do to him. People know, yeah, exactly how to beat Tim Tszyu. So he's got to change, and I believe Tim has the ability and everything else in his arsenal to change.
Nice one, Jeff. We'll always appreciate your time, mate, and we'll catch up again soon. Appreciate it.
Hey, just one more thing before we go, John. I just want to just say this. It's a little bit off Tim, but I've never seen a sport that is commentated by everybody else bar boxers. I think Fox should be put out of sport. I mean, if the zone want to do anything, they better get people who know about the sport to be commentating. And I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. I like the guys. They were great AFL players and everything else, but they know nothing about boxing. It was like listening to, I don't know, can't even describe what I was listening to. So if I was No Limit, you guys have got the promotion. Yeah, make some changes or use it going under as well.
There you go. There you go. Thanks so much, Jeff. Appreciate it, mate.
No problem.